Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm running through my Euro 2024 predictions. We're going to talk about Flop Nation. We're going to talk about highest scorer, even the best set of fans. I'm going to make a bold prediction about that as well. My surprise pick for highest scorer has to be Kai Havertz. Yes, Mbappe is going to be in there. Harry Kane's going to be in there. Could even someone like a Leao for Portugal. Of course, Ronaldo himself will be looking at that if he can get game time. Those names are easy to say. But Kai Havertz, who scored quite a few more goals than even I thought he would for Arsenal, he's linking up with some of the most incredible creative talent in Euro 2024. You're talking Florian Wirtz, who's just won an invincible double by Leverkusen, Leroy Sané, Musiala, with a defence that I've complimented massively in previous videos. I think they're the two centre-backs of Tar and Rudiger are going to be unbelievable with Joshua Kimmich. And because I've predicted Germany to get to the final, I think their path there is relatively straightforward. I don't see any big sides. They're not meeting France until they get to the final. They're not going to meet in England till they get to the final, if that happens. That means that Kai Havertz has got more games to play. He's going to play a lot of football matches. He's the kind of player that is always kind of fit, always in and around the kind of discussions. And Germany lack that number 9 that can be a natural kind of replacement for Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz will be the main man. I don't know if he'll take penalties. I think he'll score 5, 6, 7. And that's the kind of number you need to be the highest scorer. So for me, Kai Havertz has got a great chance of being the highest scorer at Euro 2024. My shock fixture of Euro 2024, I've had to think a little bit left field here because Euro 2024 is so flat as a tournament. There are 6, 7, 8 sides that can all beat each other, even more really. There's so much quality you could argue, maybe except Albania. That's the one I really struggle with. Maybe Scotland, but even then Andy Robertson is world class. What I'm trying to say is I think every country's got at least one Champions League level quality player or even world class player. Even Georgia obviously have Kvaratskhelia, and that's where I have to get in there and say I think the shock fixture will be Georgia versus Portugal. Now, Georgia, by the end of the group, they play something like 26th of June. And if Georgia gets to the point where maybe they're a little bit comfortable, I've actually put them in the group to get out of the group and make it into the round of 16. Portugal, at this point, they could implode. I'm not saying they will, but there are some people out there that kind of see maybe Roberto Martinez not at the highest level manager. Could there be some sort of disruption? Every other tournament, there's always some sort of weird side that doesn't get out the group or really struggles. Think about France multiple times in 2010. You think about them in 2002, I think it was. There's so many sides. Germany in multiple tournaments in the last few years as well. Could Portugal implode? And if they do, Georgia will be there. They'll be very, very stubborn, hard to play against, and the pressure will be on Portugal. And that's where Georgia could shock the Portuguese, and hopefully so. This is my favorite category by country mile. Best fans. Now, obviously, every nation has a core, loud, vocal set of fans that have their own chants and travel well. I've been lucky enough to go to Euros before. I've been lucky enough to go to World Cups. There aren't any countries you say, oh, they've been really flat or really poor. You know, outstandingly so. I think there are countries though that are in the 20%, the 5% that really have this kind of emotion. You think of Iceland in 2016, for example. I can think of Peru when I went to Russia in 2018. Those fans were out of this world. The Northern Irish and the Republic of Irish in 2016 were absolutely electric. Have to shout out the Scottish. As much as I don't think they're a great footballing nation, I love winding them up, and there's a rivalry there. As an England fan, their fans will be fantastic and travel very, very well. You have to shout out the Germans. The 2006 World Cup is underrated, in my opinion. It was absolutely electric. The fans and the stadiums and the quality of the tournament, and that was a large part down to obviously, you know, when you host a tournament. There are obviously a lot of Germans that will be going to all the games throughout the tournament, irrespective if Germany are at that stadium or not. They'll be watching, and I think the German fans will be very, very good at boosting the energy in the tournament. But I have to shout out one country. It is Albania. I was at Euro 2016. I remember these fans. They are absolutely incredible. They've got so many songs. A little bit like Argentina. I remember those fans when they got to the final of the World Cup in Qatar, and you always saw them obviously more than other tournaments because they don't always get to the final, but you saw how in sync they were with their songs, with their energy, with kind of, even they're all wearing blue. Not every country kind of does that, and the Albanian fans, I think it was in Lyon where there's just a wall of red. And they are incredibly patriotic. They obviously represent a smaller country on the footballing scene. And I think they're confident. I think they're going to believe that they can do something, upset the odds in a very, very tough group. But those fans, I mean, I've heard them singing a few songs and I have no idea what they're singing about. But they are absolutely incredible, and they brought incredible atmosphere, and I think they're going to do that in Euro 2024. Surprise package manager. I'm not going to talk about Gareth Southgate anymore, thank God. I'm not going to talk about the qualities of Nagelsmann, for example. And I'm going to talk about managers that maybe will come into their own in Euro 2024 and get on to the radars of football fans. We have to flag Willy Sagnol is the Georgia manager. He's been there many, many years. I picked in my previous video on this channel Georgia to get out of their group and do really well, and he's been a great manager for Georgia, maybe their most important manager ever. This is a legendary French right back, got to the World Cup final in 2006. He's got experience at this kind of level, and getting Georgia into the tournament was successful. He's never been this far ever in terms of qualifying for a Euros. So you have to flag someone like Willy Sagnol, legendary manager. You've got Silvinho, obviously at Albania as well. The Spanish manager, De La Fuente, obviously managed the youth levels of the Spain national side. He isn't really on many people's radars, but for me, the surprise package manager of Euro 2024 will be Domenico Tedesco. This guy's managed at the highest level. He's taken Schalke to Champions League football, got them second in the German division as well. Of course, managed at Red Bull Leipzig and at Spartak Moscow, which is a massive club in its own right. He isn't a known quantity, and Belgium are being slept on because of the failings of 2018, the failings to not win that World Cup when they were probably the best side in the tournament still. In terms of players on that team sheet, I know France had quality, but it felt like Belgium had even more quality than France, and they only got to the semi-finals, Belgium. A real missed opportunity with Roberto Martinez, and I think when that happens, the manager that follows Roberto Martinez, that follows a side that is now without Hazard, without Mertens, without Vincent Kompany and Alderweireld, for example, is going to go under the radar a little bit. He's a fantastic manager. And you look at their results since they lost to Morocco in the World Cup. 15 games, 10 wins, and 5 draws, undefeated. Jeremy Doku, Lukaku, obviously Kevin De Bruyne's still in there. I think Tedesco plays with this kind of structure where they're not too bombing forward, they're not too exposed, and I think Tedesco will be linked to a lot of big clubs when Belgium do well, like I predicted. My dark horses, I've done a video previously on this channel. I think Hungary have got a great route to get out of their group, past, I think it's Croatia in the round of 16, and even into an England quarter final, where, let's be real, they decimated England in previous months in Nations League games, playing 5 at the back. So they're always going to be hard to play against. Some of these countries that might go in with a little bit less quality, they might still play with 4s and kind of 4-4-2s or 4-4-1-1s, for example. Sometimes when a country just knows exactly that it's going to be stubborn, it's going to be hard to play against, it knows exactly what it needs to do. And I think Hungary, a bit like Greece in 2004, have got this kind of robust side. And I'm not saying they're going to win it like Greece in 2004, but if there's one country that could do it, and I'm not counting Belgium, because if they've got De Bruyne and Vertonghen and Lukaku and Doku, I know they haven't. I think they're 15-1 to win it or something like that. I just don't see Belgium being dark horses. I think that's too easy. Spain and sides like that, you can't say they're dark horses. You have to talk about these random countries that have kind of never achieved anything at the highest level of international football. And I think Hungary have to be the ones that you talk about. Don't say the Scottish, for God's sake. There's no way they get out of the group. And if they do, I'll be very, very surprised. The Czechs are another good side. They can always get out. The Swiss as well. But for me, it's Hungary. Dominik Szoboszlai's got that Steven Gerrard level kind of quality and character. It's a cup kind of. It's a knockout tournament, of course, and you need those kind of dynamic players like the Steven Gerrards that can score from range. Szoboszlai's got that kind of incredible delivery on him as well, and he is a very, very good footballer that I don't think gets talked about enough. He had a flat final 3 months for Liverpool, no question about it. Obviously had a few injuries, so it's not necessarily his fault. This is the kind of stage where Dominik Szoboszlai could absolutely catapult his name into European football even more than it currently is playing for Liverpool. This video is very generously brought to you by Champions Choice. It's a free-to-play game where you could win up to £1,000, all by selecting your favourite sides who you think are going to do well in Euro 2024 and progressing with your predictions throughout the tournament and winning some big boy money. How you play is you choose one team per match round, and you have to be very strategic because you can't keep picking England, you can't keep picking Germany to win games. You only get one pick per round. You do exit the game for that particular round if you draw or lose, so you have to make sure you win to get to the next round. If you're still in the game by the round of 16, congratulations, your football knowledge is on point. You could be winning some serious money from the prize pool. Make sure you sign up by the 14th of July at 6 p.m. T's and C's apply. And finally, we have to talk about flops of the tournament. I look at all the big countries that are favourite to win the Euros. We're talking Germany, we're talking France, we're talking England for some reason. They've all got massive deficiencies in their squad. England, the lack of maybe experience in the back line. You talk about France's midfield, slightly weak compared to the rest of the squad and the depth. And the Dutch, for example, you know, they've got Wout Weghorst up front, despite the fact they've probably got 5 world-class defenders. I look at one nation that have almost got no issues. They've got a great keeper. They've got world-class defenders. They've got world-class midfielders. They've got world-class legendary forwards. That's Portugal. There's just something missing about the narrative in the football world about Portugal for this summer in Germany. I don't know what it is, because they've got Ronaldo up front, who's arguably the greatest ever forward or striker ever in football. He might not start, but he's at least in that camp with the experience and the kind of aura that he brings. Rafael Leao is certainly world class. Bernardo Silva is world class. Ruben Diaz, and the list goes on and on. João Felix, Bruno Fernandes. It's ridiculous. Even Paulinho is this kind of deep line playmaking midfielder that England could do with. And there's just something missing. There's something missing. Is it their route to the final? I think they could meet Germany quite early. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Is it Roberto Martinez? Is it the fact that he struggled with the golden generation of Belgium? He does remind me a little bit of Sven-Göran Eriksson when he was the golden generation manager with England. That's all I can say, lads. I think Portugal could flop in this tournament because we have to be completely real. With that squad, they have to be aiming to get at least to the semi-finals, at least to the final. And there's probably 2 or 3 other countries that are all saying that at the same time. You just think, who's going to get the shorter straw? And it might be Portugal with the manager that they've got. You'd argue Italy have got a way worse squad, but Spalletti, you never know with someone like Spalletti and his managerial credentials. With Roberto Martinez, I'm not so sure.